The dish room at Fort Bragg, 1830 hours. Staff Sergeant Alexis Stone had 47 scars on her arms, 12 from shrapnel wounds in Mogadishu, 8 from close-quarters combat in Syria, 27 from classified operations that officially never happened. Lieutenant Marcus Webb saw them while she was scrubbing pots. He assumed bar fights, maybe domestic violence, definitely nothing honorable. He pointed at the worst one, a jagged line across her left forearm. "Rough childhood?" he said, smirking. Alexis didn't look up. She'd learned long ago that some people would never understand, and she was okay with that. But Lieutenant Webb wasn't okay with silence. "I asked you a question, Stone." That's when things started to unravel. For 6 months, Alexis had been invisible. Kitchen police duty, the punishment detail everyone dreaded. Pots, pans, grease traps, garbage. 14-hour shifts. No glory, no recognition. She'd requested it. After 3 tours and classified operations across Somalia, Yemen, and Syria, she needed quiet. She needed normal. She needed to wash dishes and not think about the things she'd done to keep her country safe. But normal didn't mean easy. Lieutenant Webb made sure of that. "Stone," he called out that evening during shift change. "The grease trap's backed up again. Guess whose job that is?" The other soldiers groaned in sympathy. Grease trap duty was the worst, crawling into a filthy pit to manually clear clogs. It took hours. It destroyed uniforms. It reeked. "Yes, sir," Alexis said quietly. Webb smirked. "That's what I thought. Maybe next time you'll think twice before showing up looking like you lost a fight with a lawnmower." A few soldiers glanced away, uncomfortable, but no one said anything. Alexis rolled her sleeves down and headed to the maintenance closet. She didn't defend herself. She didn't explain. That wasn't her way. The grease trap was worse than usual. 3 feet deep, clogged solid. Alexis climbed down into the maintenance pit, flashlight clamped between her teeth, wrenches in hand. 40 minutes in, she'd cleared half the blockage. Sweat soaked through her uniform. Her hands were coated in black sludge. Lieutenant Webb appeared at the top of the pit, looking down at her like she was something he'd scraped off his boot. "You know, Stone," he said conversationally, "I looked up your file. Basic training, logistics school, nothing special. How'd someone like you end up looking like that?" Alexis kept working. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't respond. "Let me guess," Webb continued. "Bad boyfriend? Gang affiliation? You know the Army has standards, right?" One of the other soldiers, Private First Class Emma Torres, spoke up from the kitchen. "Sir, maybe we should—" "Did I ask you, Private?" Webb snapped. Torres fell silent. Webb crouched at the edge of the pit. "I'm just saying, Stone, if you want to be taken seriously in this man's army, you might want him explain yourself, because right now, you look like trouble." Alexis finally looked up, her gray eyes locked onto his. Cool, steady, unreadable. "Understood, sir," she said. Webb stood, satisfied. "Good. Finish up here. I want this kitchen spotless by 2200. He walked away. As Alexis reached for the final section of pipe, her sleeve pulled back. The scars were fully visible now, layered, overlapping, telling stories in tissue and skin. And among them, a single tattoo, a stylized raven in flight. Beneath it, in small Gothic script, Shadow 7. Torres saw it. Her eyes widened. "Sergeant, is that—" "Just a tattoo," Alexis said quietly. But it wasn't just a tattoo. Somalia, 2021, a safe house on the outskirts of Mogadishu. Alexis crouched in the rubble, rifle up, scanning the street. Her team, Shadow Unit, Delta Force, had been compromised. 12 hostiles closing in. Exfil helicopter, 15 minutes out. Her team leader's voice crackled through the radio. "Shadow 7, we're pinned. Can you clear the south entrance?" She moved through the building like a ghost. 3 tangos down before they knew she was there. 2 more at the stairwell. The shrapnel grenade that caught her left arm, scar number 19, had barely slowed her down. By the time the helicopter arrived, 11 of her teammates were alive because of her. The 12th had died in her arms. His name was inscribed on her right forearm, scar number 47, self-inflicted with a knife on the flight home. She never talked about that one. Alexis blinked. The mess hall returned. The grease pit, the fluorescent lights, the smell of industrial cleaner. But the memory stayed with her. It always did. The next morning, Lieutenant Webb called an all-hands meeting in the mess hall. "Routine inspection," he said, but his eyes kept drifting to Alexis. "Uniform standards. I've noticed some lapses, specifically visible scarring and unprofessional appearance." Every head turned towards Alexis. "Sergeant Stone, step forward." She did. "Show me your forearms." Alexis hesitated, then slowly rolled up her sleeves. The scars gleamed under the harsh lights. Surgical precision scars, shrapnel bursts, burns, each one a chapter in a book Lieutenant Webb would never read. Webb's lip curled. "Exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't a street gang. This is the United States Army. I don't know where you got those, and frankly, I don't care, but you need to cover them permanently." "Sir," Torres started, "the regulation says—" "I know what the regulation says. Private, I'm telling Sergeant Stone that if she wants to remain in my kitchen, she'll keep that mess out of sight." Alexis stood perfectly still. Her face betrayed nothing. "Yes, sir," she said. That afternoon, everything changed. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the mess hall entrance. Government plates, tinted windows, the kind of vehicles that meant someone important had arrived. The doors opened. Out stepped Lieutenant General Patricia Cross, 3 stars gleaming on her shoulders, flanked by 2 Delta Force operators in civilian clothes. The entire mess hall snapped to attention. General Cross walked directly to Alexis, and then she did something no one expected. She smiled. "Shadow 7, the general said quietly. "It's been a while." Lieutenant Webb's face went white. "Ma'am," he stammered, "I don't understand." "You don't understand?" General Cross repeated. "Let me explain, Lieutenant. The woman you've been assigning grease trap duty to, the one you said looked unprofessional?" She gestured to Alexis. "This is Staff Sergeant Alexis Stone, call sign Shadow 7, Delta Force Combat Applications Group, 3 tours in classified operations, 2 Bronze Stars, 1 Silver Star, 47 combat scars earned saving American lives in places you'll never hear about." The room was dead silent. Webb opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "But her file said logistics." "Her cover file," General Cross said, "because her real file is classified top secret. Shadow unit operators don't advertise their service, Lieutenant. They blend in, they stay quiet, they do the work no one else can do. And you've spent 6 months treating one of our nation's most elite warriors like garbage." General Cross turned back to Alexis. "Shadow 7, she said formally, "your leave is over. We need you back." Alexis finally allowed herself a small smile. "Yes, ma'am." The general extended her hand. They shook, not superior to subordinate, but warrior to warrior. Then General Cross addressed the room. "Let this be a lesson. You never know who's standing next to you. Respect isn't about appearance. It's about recognizing the sacrifices people make when you're not looking." She glanced at Lieutenant Webb one more time. "Carry on, Lieutenant, and I suggest you learn that lesson quickly." 2 weeks later, Alexis was gone, reassigned to a classified unit, location unknown. Lieutenant Webb remained in the mess hall, but something had changed. He was quieter now, more careful with his words, more respectful with his assumptions. Private Torres was promoted to shift supervisor, and on the wall of the mess hall, someone had taped a small note: "Never underestimate the quiet ones." Beneath it, drawn in marker, was a raven in flight.